As you continue your pre-writing for paper number 1, it's time to commit to a topic that you have brainstormed and to write a draft of a thesis, keeping in mind that this is just a draft of the thesis and that your thesis will change and solidify as you go through the writing process. So on your writing process assignment, there is a spot to put the draft of your thesis, and the first part of this presentation will walk you through how to write a thesis for paper number 1. A reminder of what the thesis is: it's the statement of the position, point of view, or belief that you are expressing in the essay. So in this case, your thesis will express what it's like to be your identity, the aspect of your identity that you have chosen, or it will express how your identity shifted as a result of some significant event. To give you a visual here, the thesis sentence or thesis statement will include the topic or what the essay is about. So in this case, something like, as you read in the student sample essay, the topic of that essay would be being a female wrestler. And then the angle is that writer's assertion or insight as to what it was like for them. So you'll include not only the aspect of your identity or the aspect of transition that you are focusing on, but also what insight you want to convey about that experience or about that aspect of your identity. So you can see here the topic and the position in this example, and then some reasoning, some overall reasoning to add some complexity to your essay. So here is the introduction paragraph from the student sample essay about being a female wrestler. You can see here the introduction provides some background information first. So the thesis goes towards the end of the intro because we need some context and some background before we get to the main assertion of the paper. So in this case, the introduction explains a little bit about the writer's background in wrestling, always watching their brother wrestle, and a little bit about their own wrestling career as well. They did it for 6 years, competed for 3 teams across 2 different states, hundreds of opponents, etc. And that bridges us into the thesis. So the thesis here is underlined. Remember, the topic is being a female wrestler, and then the thesis includes their topic, mentions being a female wrestler, but also the insight they are offering about what that was like for them to experience. So we see here the thesis is, as a female wrestler, gender bias has made it feel like the odds are stacked against me through the utter lack of consideration for the female experience and being treated differently than my male teammates. Notice this is pretty specific, but it is not a list of the 3 main points the essay will cover. It's not a list of the 3 main paragraphs of the essay. So for example, one of the assertions here is that she was treated differently than male teammates. That doesn't mean that's the final body paragraph because it's last in the essay. In fact, several paragraphs in the essay express examples of times she was treated differently than her male teammates. So again, we want to try to get away from that list of 3 main points as the thesis statement into something more complex and more of an umbrella of the whole experience conveyed in the essay. So as you begin to think about drafting your thesis, I want you to open back up writing process assignment number 1. By this point, you should have your topic development chart completed. So you should have some abstract and some concrete ideas on that. So as you review that, you want to think, okay, how can I sum all of this up? Or what's the overall insight I want to offer about these types of experiences that I've listed and brainstormed? For my sample paper here that I'll walk you through different steps, here is what I have listed. It's about, I want to talk about being a perfectionist teacher for my, sample modeling prompt. So what I've done is I've listed some different main types of experiences I tend to have. So as a perfectionist teacher, I care a lot about students' futures. That's very abstract. Self-reflection and self-criticism I experience a lot. Again, an abstract detail. How I respond to criticisms and negative attitudes from others, but then I have a specific concrete detail here, student evaluations comment. I can tell a specific story about that. And then back to abstract, always trying to improve. So right now I have mainly abstract experiences listed, although I definitely have specific stories I could tell to back these up. So I'm looking at these. I'm not going to list all of these things in my thesis. Instead, I'm going to take a look at them and think, okay, what's the overall experience that I'm trying to convey here? What's the overall thing I want people to understand about what it's like to be a perfectionist teacher? So my draft might look something like this. Being a perfectionist teacher means often feeling overwhelmed by how deeply I care and constantly striving to improve. So once you've added your thesis draft to your writing process assignment, you will be ready to start taking your main points and putting them in an outlined structure, and that's where we'll head next.